Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something kind of unique this time. We're talking about DIY tarot decks, and we've got an awesome guide to help us out.
Oh, this is going to be fun. So, for anyone out there thinking about crafting their own deck, we'll be walking you through the whole process.
Exactly. And not just the practical stuff. We're going deeper, exploring, the personal and spiritual benefits of creating a deck that's totally uniquely you.
Totally.
But before we get all into the how-tos, let's tackle the why. I mean, there are so many gorgeous tarot decks already out there. Why go through the trouble of making your own?
Right, good point. There's something about making your own, though. It becomes more than just a tool for, like, divination. It's almost like, it becomes this mirror reflecting how you see the tarot.
Okay, I like that. The guide talks about deeper connection, personalized symbolism, all that. Can you, unpack that for us a bit?
Sure, sure. So, think about traditional decks, right? They're beautiful, but they're designed through someone else's lens. When you create your own, you're choosing the imagery, the symbolism, everything. And that resonates with, well, you.
All makes sense.
It can really help you understand those archetypes, the energy each card represents. It's almost like having a conversation with your own intuition.
Yeah, it's like you're translating that universal language of tarot into your own, personal dialect. And the guide also mentions creative expression. So you're blending spirituality and art, which is pretty cool.
Totally. And it's super empowering. You're making a tool that aligns with your energy and aesthetic preferences. You're expressing your own vision of the tarot's wisdom.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm starting to get the appeal of DIY. So where do we even begin?
Right. Good question.
The guide starts with the structure of a tarot deck. 78 cards, major and minor arcana.
The basics.
Just a quick refresher.
Okay, so the major arcana, right?
Yeah?
That's the place to start, especially for beginners.
Makes sense.
22 cards, each one representing these big, universal, like, life lessons, archetypes. You've got, like, the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, Death, the Tower. It's all about those moments and energies that are part of everyone's journey.
You know what I find really interesting? Those major arcana figures, they resonate across so many cultures, so many different time periods. It's like these themes, these human experiences are really universal.
Right. It's amazing. And it kind of makes you think about Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. He believed those symbols, those figures, are like embedded in our shared psyche. And the major arcana taps into that beautifully.
Whoa, that's pretty deep. Okay, so we've got these universal archetypes in the major arcana, but then we have the minor arcana. Those are more about everyday situations, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there are four suits: cups, wands, swords, pentacles.
The class.
Yeah, and each suit explores a different part of life. Cups are all about emotions and relationships. Wands are more about creativity, passion. Swords deal with intellect and, well, challenges. Then you've got pentacles, which are focused on material wealth, security, all that.
So it's like the major arcana sets up the big picture, and the minor arcana fills in the details of our day-to-day lives.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But for creating your own deck, for now, let's just focus on the major arcana. They're a solid foundation. They're so rich in symbolism.
Okay, so the guide mentions choosing a theme. They suggest mythology, nature, even personal experiences. All pretty interesting. I'm curious, how does that choice, like choosing mythology, how does that impact not just the way the deck looks, but how you might interpret the cards during a reading?
Oh, that's a great question. It's all about those layers. Let's say you choose a mythology theme. You're tapping into all these existing archetypes and stories.
Right.
So you could, connect the Empress card to a mother goddess like Gaia or Isis.
Okay, I see.
But you're also discovering your own connection to those myths. It's about weaving your own narrative into the cards.
That's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you're not just illustrating, you're creating a layered story that gives more meaning.
Exactly. And remember, that theme, it runs through the whole deck. It gives it a cohesive energy, and it influences how each card is interpreted.
Gotcha. Okay, this is getting exciting. So we've chosen our theme, something that really speaks to us. What's next?
Well, the guide says, and I agree, the next step is sketching. It's all about visualizing your deck.
Okay, so like a blueprint. And you mentioned earlier about using existing symbolism, but also like adding your own personal touch. How does that work in reality?
Okay, let's say, you're using the classic Rider-Waite-Smith imagery as inspiration, and your theme is nature, right?
Okay, nature.
So for the Magician card, traditionally it's that table with the elements.
Yeah.
You could sketch like a figure in a forest, hands drawing power from the sun and moon, surrounded by, elements you'd find in nature.
Oh, I love that. It's like taking the traditional meaning and then making it your own. through the theme you chose.
Exactly.
So it's not just about drawing pretty pictures. It's about that symbolism, the theme, your personal interpretation. It's all woven into each sketch.
You got it.
Yeah.
And don't forget about color. It has its own visual language.
Yes. The guide mentions color. They talk about warm colors for passion and energy, or like cool blues and greens for peace, introspection. What else should we think about with color?
Well, think about how colors make you feel.
Right.
How they might change how you see a card.
Mm.
Like a deep, rich red could be intense passion.
All right.
But a lighter pink, a pastel, might be more about gentleness, nurturing.
It's like creating a visual symphony with color.
I like that.
And then there are borders. I'm curious about their role in design.
Borders are great for creating a cohesive look. They could be simple or super intricate, geometric, organic, whatever fits your vision. Like for a nature theme, you could use leaves and vines in the borders. If it's more geometric, you might use repeating patterns or mandalas.
This is so cool. I'm already picturing so many possibilities.
Me too.
So we have our theme, our sketches are coming together, we're thinking about color and borders. What's next on this creative adventure?
Next, we got to gather those materials and bring our vision to life.
Okay. So we're getting ready to make this vision real. We were talking about gathering those materials to make our decks. And the guide makes it seem pretty simple, right? Sturdy cardstock, some art supplies, a good cutting tool.
Yeah, it's not as intimidating as it might seem.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit old school. I love working with paints, pencils, all that tactile stuff. What about you? Any preferred medium when it comes to tarot art?
I really love both traditional and digital approaches. Like, there's something so grounding about, working with real materials, feeling that texture of the paper, the way the paint flows.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But then, digital tools, Procreate, Photoshop, they open up a whole new world. You can experiment with layering, textures. You can even do digital collage, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's a good point. It's so easy to forget about how flexible those digital tools are. It's like you have infinite colors, textures, right at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Plus, you can undo mistakes, which I definitely make a lot of. So let's say we've got our materials, we've chosen our medium. What are some key things to keep in mind as we actually start designing the cards?
Okay, well, the guide suggests starting with a classic layout,
Okay, classic layout.
So usually you've got the imagery in the center of the card, you've got the card name, maybe some extra symbols to reinforce the meaning, and of course the borders, which we talked about.
Yeah, the borders. It's interesting, right? Even the layout itself contributes to the card's meaning. It's like a visual guide for the viewer.
It totally is. And when it comes to symbolism, remember, you don't have to stick to traditional interpretations. Draw inspiration from your theme, your experiences, even your dreams,
So, for example, if my theme is personal growth and I'm working on the strength card, which is usually like a woman taming a lion, I could depict someone climbing a mountain instead.
Exactly. You're translating those universal archetypes into imagery that really speaks to you. And don't forget about the colors, their symbolism. We talked about warm and cool colors, but you can go so much deeper. Look into color theory, color psychology, even different art movements.
Whoa, art movements, that's a new one. Can you give us an example of how that would work?
Okay, let's say you love the Art Deco movement, right?
Yeah.
All those geometric patterns, bold colors.
I can see it.
You could totally bring those elements into your card designs. Maybe use stylized figures, metallic accents. It would create this really unique Art Deco vibe.
Okay, I'm getting so inspired. So we've got our layouts, our symbolism, we're thinking about color. What are some practical tips, for actually bringing these designs to life?
Right. So if you're hand drawing, the guide really emphasizes layering. Start with light pencil sketches, get the composition right.
Makes sense.
And then gradually add layers of color, detail.
I can imagine that creates like a sense of depth in the artwork.
It totally does. And for those who, maybe aren't as confident with a paintbrush, don't be afraid to try different techniques. Like collage is awesome.
Oh yeah, collage is fun.
You can use found images, magazine cutouts, even fabric. It creates such cool textures. And remember, imperfection is beautiful. Your artwork is unique because of those little quirks.
I love that. It's not about perfection, it's about expressing yourself, right? Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. We've poured our hearts into designing these cards. It's time to actually make a deck we can hold.
Yeah. So the guide walks us through that physical process. First, double-check your artwork size.
Okay, size.
Standard tarot cards are 2.75 by 4.75 inches, but you can adjust that if you want bigger or smaller cards.
Got it.
And then comes the, the fun but nerve-wracking part. cutting the cards.
I can imagine.
Yeah, precision is key. Use a ruler, a sharp cutting tool, like an X-Acto knife. Make those edges super clean. Take your time, double-check everything.
I'm already getting a little anxious thinking about making that first cut. But once the cards are cut, what's next?
So to protect all that hard work, make the cards more durable, it's a good idea to laminate them or use a sealant.
Okay, that makes sense.
That'll prevent smudging, keep them from getting worn out too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about how much you handle a tarot deck, right? Shuffling, drawing cards, laying them out, they got to be tough.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the guide also mentions painting the edges, like with gold or silver metallic paint, to make them look extra fancy.
Oh, yeah. It's like giving each card its own little frame.
I love that. Speaking of presentation, the guide also mentions some optional extras, like making a custom box or a pouch for your deck.
Totally. You can get really creative here. You can use fabric, wood, even recycled materials, make it your own.
And for those who really want to go all in, there's the option of creating a guidebook.
Oh, a guidebook is a great idea. It's your chance to explain, how you see each card, maybe share some behind-the-scenes stuff about your creative process or some journaling prompts.
It's like creating a map for your own unique tarot journey. Okay, so we've assembled the deck, got our fancy box, maybe even a guidebook, but there's one last crucial step the guide talks about: consecration. And I have to admit, this always feels like super mystical to me.
Yeah, me too. It's like that bridge between, creating the physical deck and the energy it holds.
Right. So can you explain what consecration is all about and, why it's so important? So we were talking about consecrating that DIY deck, and, the guide mentions cleansing with smoke, setting intentions, and storing it carefully.
Right.
But I'm kind of curious about the why behind it all. It almost feels like a ritual to, give the deck a certain energy.
It is a ritual. It's about recognizing that this deck, this thing you made, it's not just like a bunch of cards.
Right.
It's a tool. You're using it to connect with your intuition, the wisdom of the tarot. It's connecting you to something bigger.
Okay, so it's about creating a sacred space.
Yes, both physically and, energetically.
Mm-hmm.
That cleansing ritual, the smoke, whether it's sage or palo santo or incense, it's all about clearing out any stagnant or negative energy that might be stuck to the cards.
Right.
It's almost like you're creating a clean slate for your intentions.
Oh, I like that. A clean slate. And the guide talks about setting intentions.
Right.
Holding the deck, focusing on how you want to use it.
Exactly. Think about what you want to gain from using this deck. What are you hoping for? Guidance. Do you want more creativity? A spiritual connection? Whatever it is, say it out loud or think it really hard. Let the deck know.
It's like you're activating it. You're giving it a purpose.
You got it.
Mm.
And then find somewhere safe and respectful to keep it. It could be a special box, a raft, a spot on your altar, whatever feels right.
It's about honoring that deck, showing that you respect its power, as this tool for self-discovery and spiritual stuff.
Exactly. And then comes the best part, the exciting part, using it.
I'll be honest, even though I've used tarot for a while now, I still get nervous before a reading, especially if it's for myself.
I like that.
Do you have any advice for people who are new to it, especially with a deck that they've created themselves?
The biggest thing is to trust your gut. You made this. You picked the images, the colors, the symbols, things that speak to you.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a reading, don't get hung up on, what you think it should mean.
Right.
Be open. Listen to what the cards are saying.
Okay, so open mind. And what about spreads? Where do you even start?
Start simple. Maybe just pull one card every day for guidance. Ask yourself, what's this card trying to tell me today?
Yeah, a little daily check-in.
Exactly. And there's the 3-card spread, too. That's good for, a specific question, what do I need to know about this?
Yep.
What are my strengths?
Hmm.
And then, what challenges should I look out for?
So even with just 3 cards, you can get a lot of information.
You can. And as you get more comfy with that, you can try those bigger spreads that dive into specific areas of your life.
Right, like love, career, all that.
Yep. And remember, there are no wrong answers with tarot. Trust your intuition. Look at the pictures, the colors, what feelings come up for you.
It's like you're talking to your subconscious, using those cards to translate.
I love that. And don't be afraid to write down your thoughts, your interpretations, your insights, whatever comes up. It'll help you understand those cards even better.
Yeah, journaling can be so helpful. So it's not just about the reading itself. It's about what you do with it afterward, too.
It is. And as you get more comfortable with your deck, think about sharing it.
Oh, yeah, sharing. That'd be amazing.
You could do readings for your friends, family, or even use your deck in group rituals, creative get-togethers.
It's like you're sharing a part of yourself with them.
It is. And the great thing about making your own deck, it's never really finished.
Right.
As you grow and change, your understanding of the cards might change too. You might want to redesign some cards or even add new ones. It's alive.
That's such a cool way to think about it. So really the journey's just beginning.
It is. It's about experimenting, playing with the cards, letting your intuition guide you.
And that wraps up our deep dive into DIY tarot decks. We've covered a lot today. The why, the how, what to do next.
Now it's your turn to create. See what stories those cards tell.
Happy creating, everyone!